Let's take a look now at inheritance, an extremely crucial part of object orientation. We've got our UML diagram, which we've already seen, and we've got our person up here at the top, all right, and we enjoy that our person is sitting there at the top. We've got then our employee. Our employee is a person and our manager is a employee. So we've saying it here. So everything that is available in here becomes available within our employee class, and everything that is available in here becomes available within our manager class. When it comes to Java, this is what we're looking at. We've got our public class person, and the ... covers all of the class fields, accessors, mutators, etc. They're all embedded in there. Now, what we have is we have this word extends, and we've seen that, okay? So public class employee extends the person class. And now into our class fields, what you can see is I've got this, oops, and I've tapped to have something else come up, but we've got private string staff ID. So this is the class field that we've added, if you like, or we've got in employee class, which is extending everything from person class. And then down here into manager class, which manager class extends employee, we've added another class field. And as I say there, accessors and mutators for num subordinates must be added to this class, and the accessors and mutators for staff ID need to be added to this class here. So we go about writing a class that inherits in that same pattern with accessors and mutators for the variable, the class fields we include in it, as well as what we'll see later on, our toString and equals methods. So we dive into some constructors now, and we have this thing called super. And I say super calls the equivalent method in the parent class. And we can also provide super with some arguments. Let's have a look at the example. Our employee class here, we've got the constructor. And you can see the very first line in our constructor is super. And then you'll notice we've got first name, family name, day of birth, p-birth, like that. And you can see these are all our parameters that are listed here. So we call super. Super is the superclass, the parent class. So it goes up to the constructor in that parent class and passes these into it. And what have we used? We've used in that superclass our constructor with parameters. And now we also set staff ID here to be p staff ID. We have our copy constructor, and you can see our copy constructor does exactly the same thing. It calls super and passes it the employee, which that does its work, and from our p employee, which has a staff ID, we get the staff ID. And we've got our default constructor where we just call super, nothing else, no parameters, all right, no arguments in that call, and then we set our staff ID to a default value. So we're using this method called super. And we'll see this throughout inheritance, where we call super and we do things with it that allows us to be really taking advantage of this inheritance structure. Now, calling super in the equals and the toString method. Okay, so if we look at this, we've got our equals method. Okay, Boolean, and we say Boolean is equal. Okay, employee, the employee is assigned null. All right, now we say if p object instance of employee. So what we're doing is we're walking through our equals methods bit of a mental blank there. And again, as we come down here, you'll see we're going super. So what we're doing is we're calling the equals method in the super class and ensuring that that becomes that, or that not becomes, but that is equal. And then we're checking down here, okay, and then we've determined if it is equal or not. Do they have, in that sense, the same state? And with our toString method, a similar way of going about doing things. We've got our, I've called a temp string, and I call the super toString. I assign that, what that returns is assigned to my temp string, and now I've created an ID string. I get all the details from it, and then I'm concatenating it, joining it with temp string, and that's the string value that we return. So that's the use of super within constructors and within the equals and the toString methods that allow us to take advantage of this really cool thing called inheritance.